EarthBound may have initially been a commercial flop when it was released in North America back in 1995, but today it stands as a beloved cult classic, loved and respected by countless fans of RPGs. Its quirky, offbeat humor, bizarre turn-based battles, hilarious dialogue, and memorable characters are still celebrated all these years later. And not to try and sound cool or anything, but I was one of the few that actually owned the game when it first released, despite its doomed marketing campaign. Yeah, some of us are old enough to remember the scratch and sniff, you had to be there. But did you know that many indie releases have attempted to capture the charm and spirit of NES's classic adventure? Today we are here to discuss 10 awesome indie titles that attempted to carry the torch, and with great success. Maybe this will ease some of your pains associated with Mother 3, just some of them. Quick note, if you're wondering why Undertale and Deltarune are on this list, it's because they are way too friggin' obvious and I wanted to spotlight some different games. But real quick, help us carry the torch for indie visibility by heading over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames. You'll gain Discord access to the greatest indie gaming community, enjoy early ad-free shows, receive a shout-out at the end of every video we produce, our podcast 3 days early, and so much more. Right now we do have a stretch goal going on where we are trying to turn our podcast into a video format. Your new indie gaming community is waiting for you. First up on our list is Omori, a game that undoubtedly many of you are familiar with, as it is passionately loved by indie gaming fans around the world. Taking place across 2 alternate locations, the game often shifts between night and day, casting a shadow on many of Sunny's friends who will party up with you. Things start out lovely enough, but slowly the game descends into utter madness. With heavy themes explored, such as trauma and the consequences of your choices in life, Omori may tonally be a bit heavier than EarthBound ever was, which itself had plenty of sinister moments, but it's also not without a sense of humor. The turn-based combat is presented in a somewhat similar fashion to EarthBound, and the developers do not hide their inspirations with Easter eggs like being able to phone your mom, the use of a baseball bat, pajamas, and more. Omori is a must-play indie for both fans of EarthBound and really just those of you who love games in general. Omori is available on Switch, PC, and PlayStation consoles, normally priced at $19.99. Next on our list is Lisa the Painful, which, as the Steam page so bluntly puts it, is, quote, the miserable journey of a broken man. Taking place in a world where women have vanished entirely in a cataclysmic event known as the Flash, you'll play as Brad, a downtrodden middle-aged martial arts expert who is left traumatized from, well, let's just say a rough childhood. Things really get twisted when he discovers a baby girl. Could this be the only female left? This sets the course for one of the most bizarre indie RPGs imaginable, but it's such a good game. Much like Omori, I'd say this release is quite a bit darker than EarthBound, however it does maintain its sense of humor, being more of a dark comedy. You'll get visible enemies, some truly bizarre status effects, and weird item names that also call back to the SNES cult classic. The developer even went on record citing EarthBound as a clear inspiration for the game. Lisa the Painful, as the title implies, is full of pain but feels like an essential indie well worth your time. So grab that definitive edition available on PC and consoles. It does go on sale often. First off, the title of this next game really grosses me out. I never liked the word pulsating very much, but disgusting name aside, if you take just one glance at Jimmy and the pulsating mass, you'll see its inspirations are clear, as it very much has the visual identity of EarthBound. Here you play as 8-year-old Jimmy, who is sadly suffering with terminal illness. In what is becoming a trend on this list, he steps into a magical dream world rife with colorful locations, characters, unusual monsters, and more. Jimmy can transform into various creatures in this world, which will help him to solve a variety of different puzzles. You'll see friends old and new in this charming but sometimes emotional tale that also delves a bit into some darker themes as you progress. The pulsating mass is what twists the perception of this world, but I won't spoil everything here. The whimsical retro art, battle system, often hilarious writing, and callbacks to EarthBound itself make this a loving tribute well worth adding to your library. Here's some amazing news too. Despite being available on PC for years now, the game was just recently announced for consoles, so everyone will be able to enjoy it soon. Things really start to take a turn for the weird now with Yume Nikki at number 7. Created by a Japanese dev in 2004 on RPG Maker, this fascinating indie release won the hearts and minds of audiences by somehow featuring just about no dialogue, no real combat system, heck, there's not even all that much of a story, or is there? That's kind of the fun with this release, it leaves a lot up to interpretation. Your lead character is confined to her apartment, and you must sleep to, you guessed it, enter a dream world. Within this dream world, you'll come across unusual characters, some very disturbing visuals, and have no earthly clue what your actual goal is. Is there some kind of twisted metaphor hidden here somewhere? That's for you to decide. But how does it relate to Earthbound, you ask? There's the pixel art, top-down exploration, bizarre imagery, and sinister tone that all call back to the game. Sure, they're quite a bit different from one another, but each game explores feelings of isolation, repressed memories, and doesn't necessarily spell everything out for you. So there's clearly some inspiration here. In fact, this title feels like Moonside, but for most of the game. This is a very cool game if you've yet to check it out. It's free on Steam, and there was even a follow-up of sorts called Yume Nikki Dream Diary, which was a 3D reboot. I guess it wasn't great though, sadly. I consider our next game, Knuckle Sandwich, a bit of a hidden indie gem. Its inspirations are very, very clear. From the offbeat humor to the psychedelic visuals, Knuckle Sandwich is heavily inspired by Earthbound without question, but that doesn't mean it isn't a fun game in its own right. Here, a diner employee gets caught up in a murder mystery, and what unfolds next will go into some seriously dark and twisted corridors. There's some rather bleak themes here, but also Earthbound's signature sense of humor at times. You'll come across gangs and other oddities that truly have to be seen to be believed. The modern-day setting mixed with pixel visuals will definitely put a smile on any Earthbound fan's face, as will the WarioWare-style turn-based battles, crazy enemy designs and status effects, and of course the general tone of the game just screams, "Mother!" On PC, the game costs $19.99 and does still have a demo up. My love for Athenian Rhapsody knows no bounds. I enjoyed the game so much, in fact, that I even awarded it the Golden Genie Lamp of Approval here at the channel. What makes this game special? Gosh, where do I even begin? For one, it's one of the funniest games I've ever played. The world of Athens is a delight to explore, the WarioWare-style combat is a trip, and there's just so many possibilities to explore. The game is very customizable, with tons of different outcomes. Through each Rhapsody, you will create a unique record that was shaped by your choices. Much like Undertale, you can spare enemies, or even flirt with them, or, just kill them off. This is a delightful mix of both Undertale and Earthbound that has a charming cast, great dialogue, and honestly, I just haven't seen much else like it, especially with that awesome Rhapsody system. I hate to pick favorites, but Athenian Rhapsody definitely will always have a special place in my heart, and more people should have played it. It's available on both Switch and PC at a very affordable $14.99. Only 302 reviews on Steam, that's a real shame. Next on our list, 2021's Eastward, a charming little RPG with great humor and amazing visuals. The game's set in my backlog forever, but I wasn't disappointed when I finally got around to playing it. Set in a post-apocalyptic world, John the miner and Sam, the magical girl of our story, are forced to live underground. The writing is charming, funny, and will even pull at the heartstrings from time to time. Exploring themes of childhood wonderment, love, and loss, you feel the DNA of Earthbound all over Eastward. In fact, there's a very obvious tribute that I won't spoil for you here. The game did receive continued support, including a DLC, and I highly recommend checking out both that and the full game, of course. It's on PC and consoles, normally priced at $24.99. Let's take weird to the next level now with Hylics. The claymation may not scream Earthbound, but just try playing it for a few moments and you'll see why it's on this list. The game is completely over the top with a very obscure plot, randomly generated dialogue, and well, it's a game where you play as a guy named Wayne who has a moon for a head. Are you satisfied yet? Kinda like Yume Nikki, not everything will be spelled out for you here. However, expect to gather some highly unusual party members, explore even more unusual islands, take down evil cults, and put an end to the King of the Moon's reign. I wouldn't say the game is quite as heartfelt as Earthbound, but it certainly captures its spirit and weirdness. Turn-based battles are stylish, and overall, it's a really wild experience that even received a sequel. A great selection for the more adventurous indie gamers out there. Here's one you probably didn't see coming. This is Super Lesbian Animal RPG. Driven by a comedic script, this turn-based RPG takes place in a magical world and puts you in the shoes of Melody the Fox, a wannabe healer who wishes to join her girlfriend Allison on an epic quest. A greater conflict eventually reveals itself, full of dungeons to conquer, monsters to slay, and treasures to discover. The game has a really great sense of humor with some wonderful 16-bit visuals bringing its colorful world to life. While it obviously has an identity all of its own, the game is plenty offbeat, features classic turn-based combat, and other subtle nods to the SNES classic Earthbound. Good fun, it only ranks at about a PG-13 rating too, so the themes won't be too intense for most audiences. Closing out our list today is She Dreams Elsewhere. Yep, more dreams. This game has the distinction of being the only title featured on this list that is not yet available, but it is scheduled to come to PC and all major consoles. It will follow the story of Thalia Sullivan, who is sadly in a coma. She Dreams Elsewhere will touch on themes of mental health, self-doubt, and healing. The turn-based combat, trippy visuals, and dreamlike setting are all giving me serious Earthbound vibes. And hey, this was a lot of fun. I hope you found a few games to, at the least, add to your wishlist. See, the spirit of Earthbound is alive and well in the indie gaming scene. Amazing how its impact is still felt all these years later. See you on the channel for more indie gaming content. Remember to like, subscribe, and help us bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming.